Right, lesson 20. We're learning about Nadi, Sodhana, Pranayama. For that we go to the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, chapter 2, Sutra 8. Taking energy in through the pingala, the interior should be slowly filled with energy. Performing kumbhaka as prescribed, it should then be released through ida. Kumbhaka is the Sanskrit word for the retention. Kumbhaka. But it is also being used to describe an exercise as a whole. You will see that later on. So look at what Svatmarama is doing here. In the first stage that we learned, he talked about the sun and the moon. To cause confusion, he doesn't use the sun and the moon for this one. He uses ida and pingala. If you do not have a teacher to explain what is happening here, it doesn't make sense anymore. Taking in energy through the pingala is referring to which energy? Pingala is responsible for which energy? Ham. It's okay. Just kidding. Pingala is responsible for Shakti, energy, the masculine. Sun gate, moon gate, Chandra Bindu, Surya Bindu. He doesn't use the sun and the moon this time around though. But he says, take in energy through pingala. That means it can only be Shakti energy. Because ida is responsible for Shiva. Shakti energy can never go through ida. So, Shakti in. Shakti in. Counting to 12. Retention, kumbhaka. Let me use the Sanskrit word. Counting to 48. And then it should then be released through ida. What does that mean? Which energy flows through ida? Shiva. Which means energy out through the bottom. Shiva energy out. So Shakti energy in, Shiva energy out. What do you see here? Does it look familiar? It's Vashti. Sucking up water through the anus and then expelling it. So, Shakti in, Shiva out. Counting to 24. And a final kumbhaka. Counting to 48. I made it a little bit too big because we need another one there. Sutra 9. Energy should be drawn in by the same through which release was made. Then, having retained the energy to the utmost, till covered with perspiration or till the body shakes, it should be released by the other, slowly and never fast, as it will diminish the energy of the body. So that is why we count with Om. That is why we count slowly. If you count with seconds, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it has no effect on us. It doesn't have any time to have an impact. But there are many interesting aspects here. It doesn't make it easy for us unless you have been properly initiated. Energy should be drawn in by the same through which release was made. Now, you released energy through the sun. But that's not what he means. He's talking about Ida in a very tricky way. He's talking about Ida. So this one is going to be a little smaller. Sun, moon, the energy that you released was Shiva energy. So that's the energy that we are now taking in. Shiva in, so this pranayama has 2 cycles, this one and this one. Kumbhaka, 48. Then, what did he say then? Having retained the energy to the utmost till covered with perspiration or till the body shakes. Till covered with perspiration or till the body shakes. There are people who take this literally. And they end up building up an intensity in their meditation until indeed they either shake or sweat. And they think that that is good. But this is dealing with subtle matter. This is symbolical language. When you perspire, when you sweat, what is that? It's heat. It's rajas. Rajas domination. When you shake, it's chill. It's when you're cold. It's symbolical language for tamas. What you're doing with these two, when you increase Shakti, there is heat. You don't really feel that because it's subtle. And you definitely are not supposed to sweat. But you increase Shakti, you create a Rajas condition. Then you release Shiva, solidifying the Rajas condition. You understand that? You add Shakti and you reduce Shiva, so Shakti upon Shakti leads to heat. In the second stage, you have let Shiva in, which leads to a subtle tamas condition. Let's go back to the text. Energy should be drawn by the same through which release was made. Then having retained the energy to the utmost, it should be released by the other. Shakti out. That is the other. So what you do here is very clever. For a beginner in yoga, whose energy household is not conditioned, you flush through the energy channels by increasing the amount and accelerating the speed of the energy flow. But not only that, you first create rajas, because people have a natural tendency to be in a tamas condition. You understand that? One of the most common complaints of people is that they are gloomy, depressed. That's not a disease unless it's clinical, of course. It's a condition caused by tamas. Tamas is a condition because energy, remember, energy has a tendency to condense. In our body, it literally condenses to the bottom. That is why people, if we don't condition ourselves, we function based on our lowest emotions and desires. Because our energy condenses to the bottom, where our lowest emotions and desires are located. The system of yoga is designed to go against that natural tendency of condensation by letting energy rise against that natural tendency so that we can open up the wonderful characteristics of the higher chakras. You find this back. You start with Shakti, but when you use Shakti, you overshoot the goal. You want, in the end, you want Sattva, harmony between the two. But to get there, you first have to come out of your tamas condition by generating Shakti. You overshoot the goal, you go to the next stage, and you increase Shiva while reducing Shakti a little bit. And it allows you to end up somewhere in the middle. Practically, you will notice that your meditation becomes more intense than before, more focused than before as a result of this, because you now are more sattvic in this meditation than the meditation before you learned pranayama. In the first stage resembles Vashti, sucking up water and expelling it. The second stage resembles Dauti, swallowing the piece of cloth and then pulling it out again. Kriya starts making sense now, doesn't it? So, the second stage, Shiva in, counting to 12, Shakti out, counting to 24, and a final Kumbhaka, counting to 48. Make a note in your notebook that the first cycle that you learned in the previous session does not come back anymore. There was just finger practice. I sometimes get a message from a student who picks up their practice again, including pranayama, and they say, hey, there are 3 cycles. How does it work? I remember there were only 2. And then I explained that the first one, it was only finger. The Hatha Yoga Pradipika is not clear about that. The first one is finger practice, kind of an extension of the Kriya. But the final form of Nadi, Sodhana, Pranayama is these 2 cycles. Shakti in, Shiva out, Shiva in, Shakti out. Altogether, 25 minutes. 2 cycles takes you between 6 and 9 minutes, somewhere approximately, but is not important. Just follow your own count. Just make sure that you don't do it too fast, then you should be fine. And when you're finished with both these cycles, you finish your meditation, you feel the rest of your time concentrating on nada. Yeah?
But can I ask something?
Of course.
So how aware do you physically feel it?
How aware what?
Do you physically feel Shakti rising?
You tell me what you feel, because for every person this is different.
No, but I'm more or less referring to your drawing, because like, is there a reason why you want the first Shakti in through, let's say, Muladhara, like through the bottom? Is there a reason?
Yes. In yoga, everything starts with Shakti and is then leveled out with Shiva. You do this in asana too. You start with a physical action and you then stop moving, you consolidate. So you start with Shakti and then you come down. You try to create harmony by standing still, by stopping the movement. Here you start with Shakti and you then add Shiva.
And Shiva comes through the upper chakras, yeah?
Yes. Shakti comes from the bottom, Shiva comes from the top.
But Shiva, does it come from through the crown chakra? It can't come in. So where does it come in? Through the throat?
No. Chandra Bindu is approximately 15 centimeters above the head. Okay. It comes in through there. Okay. You can't feel that. Use
just to use the image, because if we want those physical that you don't like, right, we would use right and left, which makes sense. So I just need a figure to now it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like imagining through Mudala in and then through the crown. When it comes to Ida, makes sense now.
Yeah.
I couldn't figure it out.
Experiment a little bit, play a little bit with the concept, you will see. It's actually, Ajita used to say, and I mentioned this before, he said all the time, a child can do it. And it is so true. Because all you need for this is just a vivid imagination. And try to overcome a tendency to be skeptical. You just have to give this the benefit of the doubt. And when you notice that it actually has an effect or an impact, it's not difficult to believe that this is actually possible. And also, if you have done breathing exercises, you will notice that breathing is not bad. Breathing is good. It strengthens the lungs. It increases the amount of oxygen in the blood. So nothing wrong with breathing exercises, except that it doesn't live up to the promises that the text tells us. You will see with the next, when we're done with Nadi, Sodhana, Pranayama, which we will repeat 13 times, we will introduce 4 more pranayamas, and each of them has a very specific goal. And when done as energy control, that goal is actually met. When done as breath control, it doesn't work. Yeah? So it's still new, it's quite complex in the beginning. Hence the comparison with driving a car when you're a rookie driver is overwhelming, but you become familiar with it, and it will go smooth very quickly if you repeat this a couple of times. Okay? No breathing, otherwise you die and we have a mess here. And
I was being a child, I was curious.
yeah, good experience. At least it made you realize that it's not possible. All right, let's just give it a try.